Hey guys, Sean here. Today we're down at the river. We're going to be doing a lovely tutorial in the great outdoors, taking this basswood rectangle and twisting it a little bit. Just like last lesson where we took a cube and turned it into a sphere, this one's a great exercise on visualization. This time though, we're going to be taking material from the inside of the block. So hopefully this one is going to give you a great idea of where to remove wood from your project and where to leave it in your project. I really find this helps me. This is one I did when I was just starting out. I'm just down here while my mate's fishing. He's not catching much though.
As usual, guidelines are really important. We're just going to be putting a diagonal pencil line between the two corners on each face, and we're going to be repeating that on each face.
So I'm going to try and show you this with the most basic tools possible. I'm going to show you with the wood carving knife. This is a 1.5 inch detail. And I'm also going to show you with a chisel. This one's a number 3 gouge, which is one of the options. Number 3 from Swiss made file. These are great. The other option is just a flat chisel, which quite often I prefer, but today I think I'm going to use the number 3 gouge just because we're going to be removing material from the interior of the piece. Sometimes it's easier just to have that little bit of a gouge because it's easier to take wood when you have a little bit of relief on the cut. So I'm going to start by removing the spine here, and I'm going to remove material between these two guidelines. I'm going to make sure to leave these guidelines because it'll give us a nice clean twist. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make stop cuts. Come 45, 45. And that's the easiest way. And then we're going to start expanding those. And that's how we start removing material on the spine. Just rotating the piece in our hands. Once you start seeing tear out like that, it's time to switch. Now notice how I'm trying to always push the blade away from me. Now I'm using my thumb as a fulcrum to push the blade. That's how I try and do safe cuts. So I'm just slowly moving away from the spine, slowly taking more off. Now once you start getting a bit of material moved between here, you can start seeing a line between these two and these two. We want that to flatten out. So we're going to start pushing through here. Of course the grain wants to go vertically. We want to push diagonally. So we're going to start removing material in this groove. Easing it out between here. So I am doing paring knife cuts here. A little bit of a hypocrite. Making sure to keep my hands clear. So I'm making sure to just work away at these edges here, doing nice clean cuts, not cutting too deep. I'm just scooping out a line between these two. See, it's still too proud. It's a little bit of curve. I want it to be nice and flat between these so that I could stick my blade here and that it wouldn't rock. Now I'm not sure if you can tell yet, but the knife isn't my favourite way to do this. Very shortly I'm going to show you how to do it with the chisel, which to be honest I quite prefer. I think it's quicker. Regardless though, I'm still making pretty short work of what's a pretty reasonably big block of basswood. This block is 3-inch tall by 2 1/4 inch. Yeah. By 2 1/4 inch wide on both sides. It's a fair bit of material to remove. It's all over the floor now, but now what we have is a nice little twist on one face of our block. Isn't that nice? So it was removed all with one knife. So the knife's great when you've got basswood, But when you've got harder woods, there's a couple of techniques that you can use, and I find the chisels better. I actually find the chisels better in general, but I know a lot of you have only got a knife, so I think it's good to show how to do it with a knife as well as the chisel. So now that we've done with the knife on this face, we're looking to do the next face. And we really don't want to touch this line. If I was doing harder wood, an easy thing to do would be to get a saw, mark these 2 points the same as I have here, cut between here and here with the saw. Because what they would do is allow me to come with my chisel and just run down here, and I would have a hard stop. That hard stop means that I have that straight line already. It actually removes some material as well. So you put lines through here and you come in with the saw. Didn't bring my saw down to the river with me though. So with the chisel, we're basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut in, making sure we don't blow it out. But what we can do, we can come across the grain a lot easier. Yes, it looks a lot messier to start with, but once I've got those first cuts in, it's going to be a lot easier. A lot faster. To prevent it blowing out, try and undercut this area first, because then when your chip comes out, it won't have anywhere to go to this point. Otherwise, it may blow out this. Remember, this is our line. I've got a little bit of tear out here, I can fix that when I sand it up. Basically the same thing as the knife. I'm working from these corners, these 2 corners basically, pushing into the cut, flipping it around, making sure not to have chip out. Once I get in here I can come across it a little bit. This gouge is a little bit too big. I have another one that I could be using, but I don't really want to be saying, hey look, use as many gouges as you can. This is more about using one tool and seeing what you can do with it. So another learning point here, I can kind of tell that this gouge is pretty dull, so I'm just going to pop over and give it a bit of a strop, because that's the only thing I've got with me. I don't have my sharpening stones, so a strop is about all I can give it. I've just got a flex cut slip strop here. I'm just going to run the bevel on the flat side, and then I'm going to give this bit on the inside. That's got a bit sharper now, so I'm going to get back to it. See how much nicer that cuts? You can see it on the wood, it's not rubbing anymore, it's a much cleaner cut. Sharp edge makes you safer, makes your carve better. And I'm actually going to tidy up the ends of this one because I find that a lot easier to do with the chisel. Alright, there we go. Another nice little twist. So now we've got 2 faces of our twist done, both in 2 different ways. Let me know what you prefer. I'm going to quickly finish this up and then I'm going to come back with some tips on how to tidy things up for the final finish. So for some tips, this doesn't really sell the illusion because it's too curved. You can kind of see that when you rock it. This is pretty good. You rock the ruler here, you can see where you need to work. So something I always do is mark these areas with pencil. This area is good. This area needs to come down. This area needs to come down. And you can compare it with these ones. This one's pretty good. Yep, happy with that. This one's really good. It's even got a little bit of an undercut, which I think helps sell it even more. So I'm going to come back, take even more out of that. Even more extra for experts. If you have a deeper gouge, this one is a number 7, it's a fishtail, hence the taper. You can come in and actually come from the side, because then the corners of the gouge aren't going to cut against the thing. You notice here we're cutting across the grain. And you can do this with a gouge. It's a lot harder to do with a knife. A knife you generally have to go with the grain. With the gouge, you can go across the grain a lot easier because it has a lot shallower cut angle. The deeper your gouge, the easier it is to go across the grain. Now the only problem with using something like a number 7 gouge for something like this is that you can't do the whole piece with it. And I don't really want you to be all running out and buying a number 7 gouge, because it's not exactly what all of you need. If you find that you're doing a lot of pieces like this, where there's an area in the middle where you can't quite get to with your flat chisel or your number 3 gouge and your knife, that's when you need to start looking for new tools. If you can afford them, don't be like me and just go buying tools just because you want to buy tools. It is fun though. And also what it does is it leaves a very beveled surface, so you have to come in and clean it up with your number 3 or with your knife. Alright, so I've finished up all the sides on my twist now. It's looking really good, I'm really happy with it. A few tips to make yours look really good as well, and to really sell the illusion of the twisting block. Number 1, and this is always going to be one of my main tips, is following your guidelines right from the start. Right at the start of this piece, we put in these 4 lines, the diagonals from corner to corner. And the other guidelines that we had right at the start also were these square faces. These were the points that we were not going to remove, and also that aligned our faces. It's really important to keep a clear eye on these guidelines because they really help you maintain symmetry. And that's tip number 2, symmetry. Symmetry helps sell the illusion. If all the faces look the same, it really does look like that block that's just been taken and twisted, because the whole piece looks like it's in proportion. Proportions are really important with carving because it's really easy to pick up when something's wrong when you're looking at something in 3D. Luckily, as a carver, you're able to identify these too. You should be able to run your hand, run your eye along these pieces and identify which one's higher, which one's wider, and adjust those to fit. Getting all these symmetrical and even should help you get the piece to look as good as it can. What I've used these for in the past is actually candlelight holders. If you make it with the right size, you can drill in with an auger bit. I'd like to see what you come up with to use these for. I find this is just a good exercise, but you can make some pretty stuff with it. I would much rather be making these out of a harder wood. When you make them out of a harder wood, the grain really shows beautifully along these curves, which does make it more difficult to carve, but if you're up for a challenge, take it on. So that's all for today. I'm going to be doing a part 2 soon on finishing basswood. I know some people struggle with that, and I have a lot of handy tips on it. Thanks for watching this one. I hope you learned something, hope you carved something today. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more of these lessons coming soon. Cheers, bye.